Welcome to This Explainer. Okay, let's dive right into this. Today, we're tearing down the Hollywood myths and looking at the raw, scientific truth behind one of the most flawless and lethal biological designs Earth has ever seen, the ultimate predator. We're getting right to the core of this animal's true anatomy based on our source material. And honestly, the facts are way more fascinating than fiction. Here's our roadmap for This Explainer. First, the Tyrant Lizard King. Second, its size and physical features. Third, senses and hunting capabilities. Fourth, its rapid growth and life cycle. And finally, we'll look at the great dinosaur extinction. Let's get to it.
Section 1. The Tyrant Lizard King. Since the very first day this apex predator was discovered, it's held this absolute awe-inspiring grip on our imaginations.
Tyrannosaurus rex. It literally translates from Latin as the Tyrant Lizard King. And honestly, the scientists who named it hit the nail right on the head. This wasn't just another dinosaur, it was the undisputed ruler of North America, specifically places like modern-day Montana, South Dakota, and Wyoming, about 68 to 66 million years ago. It was the absolute top of the food chain.
Moving on to Section 2, size and physical features. To really wrap our heads around this creature, we have to break down its prehistoric, machine-like anatomy.
Picture one of those long, articulated city buses you see downtown. That is exactly how long an average adult T-Rex was, stretching an incredible 12 to 13 meters. Just its hip height alone was a towering 4 meters. To balance all that massive bulk up front, it relied on a heavy, muscular tail and incredibly powerful hind legs.
And the weight of that massive frame? A staggering 7 to 9 tons. Now, here's a key takeaway. Pop culture loves to show these guys sprinting at highway speeds, chasing down vehicles, but our source material tells a different story. Computer models show that all that sheer mass actually limited their top speed to about 20 to 30 kilometers per hour. Still, keep in mind, that was plenty fast enough to outrun the prey in its own ecosystem.
Now for the really terrifying part. That massive 1.5 meter long skull could generate a bite force of 35,000 to 60,000 newtons. That is a crushing power far, far beyond even the strongest crocodiles alive today. We're talking about the ability to literally shatter the bones of animals the size of cars.
Let's look inside those jaws. It packed about 60 thick, serrated teeth, and paleontologists often compare their size and shape to bananas. They were up to 30 centimeters long. This thick structure kept them from snapping under extreme pressure. And just like modern reptiles, if a tooth broke, a new one was already growing in to replace it. They weren't just slicing meat, they were pulverizing bone to get to the highly nutritious marrow inside.
Okay, we have to talk about those famous, supposedly useless tiny arms. Sure, compared to the rest of the body, they look a bit funny. But let's bust that myth right now. These two-fingered arms were packed with extremely dense muscle tissue. Our sources indicate each arm could lift hundreds of kilograms. They likely used this incredible strength to grapple and secure huge prey, or even to push that 9-ton body off the ground after resting.
Section 3. Senses and hunting capabilities. Let's see how the T-Rex used that massive biological toolkit out in the wild. For years, there was this massive debate in the paleontology world. Was an animal this heavy actually an active hunter, or was it just a slow, lumbering scavenger looking for dead meat?
The answer? It was an absolute master opportunist, very much like a modern lion. Yes, it actively hunted, taking down massive, horned, and duck-billed herbivores with a single devastating ambush bite. But it was also incredibly practical. The olfactory centers in its brain were so highly developed that it could smell a rotting carcass from miles away and just stroll over for a free meal. And its vision? Honestly, it's mind-blowing. Unlike many dinosaurs, its eyes were positioned facing forward on its skull, giving it deep, overlapping binocular vision. Our sources highlight that its ability to calculate distance and depth was likely sharper than today's most keen-eyed birds of prey, even modern eagles. So it wasn't just a brute, it had a highly advanced sensory network.
Now for Section 4, rapid growth and life. How exactly does an animal grow into a 9-ton bone crusher?
Brace yourselves for this statistic because it is wild. By analyzing the internal rings of fossilized bones, scientists found that teenage T-Rexes went through an insane growth spurt. During adolescence, this animal was packing on up to 700 kilograms every single year. Can you imagine that? This explosive growth allowed them to quickly dominate the top of the food chain. What's fascinating is how this life cycle worked for the ecosystem.
A teenage T-Rex and an adult looked completely different. The juveniles were slender, long-legged, extremely fast, and very likely covered in feathers for warmth. They hunted smaller, agile prey. But once they hit adulthood and morphed into those heavy, scaly, bone-crushing machines, their menus shifted entirely to giant herbivores. This was a brilliant evolutionary trick so parents and kids didn't end up competing for the same food.
But despite all that power, surviving was brutal. A T-Rex only lived for about 25 to 30 years. Take the famous fossil known as Sue, discovered in 1990. Sue's skeleton tells a really violent story. It's covered in healed fractures, broken ribs, and severe bone infections. It just goes to show that even for the apex predator, life in the Cretaceous period was a relentless, bruising fight for survival.
Which brings us to our final section, number 5, the Great Dinosaur Extinction, the dramatic end to this biological supremacy.
Let's walk through one of the most abrupt cosmic tragedies in Earth's history. After appearing roughly 68 million years ago, the reign of the Tyrant Lizard King was cut violently short 66 million years ago when a massive asteroid struck the planet. The impact threw up immense clouds of dust and debris, completely blocking out the sun. The plants died off, the giant herbivores starved, and almost overnight, the entire food chain collapsed. Even a 9-ton, highly adapted survivor couldn't outlive a collapsed ecosystem.
But the story doesn't end there. I want to leave you with this thought. What incredible secrets will the next big excavation reveal about the T-Rex? Paleontology is constantly evolving. We used to think of this animal as a slow, tail-dragging monster, and now we know it was a dynamic, highly intelligent, almost bird-like marvel of nature. Tomorrow's discoveries could rewrite the books all over again. Thanks for joining us for this explainer, and keep questioning the incredible science right beneath our feet.